Hi, hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then hi, my name's Zoe. Please subscribe, please join my little family that I have here on YouTube. It literally means so much to me. Now today we are doing another true crime video. I was really sort of happy when researching this case, only because I suppose there is a good ending to this case, even though the lady went through such a traumatic time. So it gave me that closure on this case. So let's get right into today's case. Today we are talking about the horrifying story of the girl in the box. Colleen Stan was born on the 31st of December in 1965 in Oregon in America. She was an adventurous young girl who had the whole world at her feet. She enjoyed doing her own thing and having her independence, but unfortunately this was all to change in 1977. On the 19th of May in 1977, 20-year-old Colleen Stan was attending a friend's birthday party in Westwood, California. She chose to hitchhike lifts from her home to this friend's birthday party in California. Now this wasn't unusual for her, she was a regular hitchhiker. But as you can see from the screenshot that I'm posting on the screen now, it is very far away. It isn't just a 20-minute drive away. And because she had hitchhiked in the past, she did trust her own instincts. She turned down 2 rides and then she came across a blue van. Inside the car was a man, his wife and their baby, and this reassured Colleen. This made her feel more safe because it was a family that was in the car. So because there was a family in the car, Colleen decided to take the ride. The man was 23-year-old lumber mill worker Cameron Hooker and also his 19-year-old wife Janice Hooker. The ride started pretty much normal. There was small conversation. Nothing made Colleen feel uneasy. They stopped at a gas station on the way and Colleen went to use the restroom, and when she was in this restroom she remembered a voice telling her that she should just run away from the car and run away from the people. She didn't know what this gut feeling was, so she just brushed it off and then went back to the car. After about an hour of driving, Cameron decided to drive down a country road to a remote area. And then he stopped the car and his wife and child got out of the car. He then put a knife to Colleen's neck and put a heavy head box over her head. And this head box was designed to keep out sight, to keep out smells, to keep out air. The car eventually reached her house, and this is where Colleen was led downstairs into a cellar and she was subjected to horrible forms of torture. She was tied to the ceiling where she was electrocuted, whipped, burned and beaten. The initial agreement was for Colleen to forcibly watch the couple have sex beneath her, but then over time it did turn to Cameron raping her. Meanwhile, Colleen had been missing for 4 days and her friends grew so concerned, so they got in contact with her parents who hadn't seen her either, so they contacted the police. Once the police were contacted, Colleen's parents decided to search the areas between her home and where the party was themselves. Her mother's first thoughts was that Colleen had probably been killed, given the situation that Colleen was in with hitchhiking, but no matter what, she kept on searching for her daughter. She was initially held captive in the head box in the cellar, but when the couple relocated to a mobile home which didn't have a cellar, Cameron decided to build a coffin-like box for Colleen that she would stay in, and this was under her captor's waterbed. After a year of being held captive, Colleen was forced to sign a slavery contract, and this contract basically meant that she had to wear a slavery collar and she would have to fulfill all Cameron's needs and all his sexual fantasies and anything that he basically asked her to do. She was forced to call Cameron master and she was known as Kay. She would spend 23 hours a day in the box and she was forced to be quiet and not make a sound. They only let her out the box to beat, torture and rape her. After a while she became the babysitter Cameron and Janice's 2 daughters. The children were unaware of who she was. They just thought she was a babysitter. They didn't know that she was being tortured or was even living in the house. And no one around the family picked up on who Colleen was. They just assumed that she was a housekeeper that Cameron had hired. Cameron started to brainwash Colleen so that she wouldn't try and escape. He would tell her that an organisation was watching over her and watching over her family. And this organisation was called the Company. And Colleen totally believed everything he was saying. She wouldn't do anything out of line or even think about escaping because she was so worried about what could happen to her family. Cameron would taunt her every day, saying that if she didn't comply with what he told her to do, the Company would kill her and they would kill her family. During the first couple of years of being held captive, Colleen was only allowed out the box for 2 hours a day, but she started to befriend Cameron and Janice, and this meant that they started to trust her more. They believed she wouldn't try to alert anybody or try to escape. So they decided to give her more liberties, and eventually she was allowed out with Janice. Even with all the opportunities with telephones and neighbours nearby, Colleen did not try to escape. She was too petrified of the Company. In 1981, Colleen was taken to visit her family. She didn't reveal the situation that she was in because she was too scared of the consequences. So her family started to believe that possibly she was in a cult or got herself mixed up with the wrong people because of how she was dressed, and also because of her absence of contact since going missing. The next day she visited again, but with Cameron, and Cameron posed as Colleen's boyfriend. Her parents even snapped a picture of them together, happily smiling. Cameron feared he had started to give his prisoner a bit too much freedom, so he took her home and locked her up in the wooden box under the bed, and she was there to stay again for 23 hours a day. She was forced to use a bedpan, and she would have to navigate this with her feet just to use the toilet. He also told his children that Kay had gone home, but as soon as they was asleep, he would let her out and torture her. 2 years later, in 1983, Colleen was reintroduced with the children. She was reintroduced with the neighbours. She was also allowed to get a job as a maid in a local hotel. Cameron had decided he wanted Colleen as his second wife. Over the coming months, Janice really struggled with this. She remembered exactly how she was treated by Cameron when they first dated, and seeing this other young girl go through exactly the same, she just couldn't deal with it for much longer. And in August of 1984, after being held captive for 7 years, Janice told Colleen that the Company wasn't real. She also told him that they weren't watching her family, that her family was safe and there was no harm going to come to the family or her by the Company. And then Janice helped Colleen escape. She drove Colleen to the bus station, where Colleen called her father and asked for some money for a ticket home. Then Colleen called Cameron, where she told him, "I'm leaving you," and he just burst out crying into tears. Janice asked Colleen not to tell anybody what happened over these 7 years and just to keep it to herself, because she believed that she could reconcile what her husband did. She believed she could change him as a person. Colleen was too afraid to tell anybody what had happened to her. Nobody knew that she had just escaped captivity. Janice started to realise that her husband was not going to be rehabilitated. So Janice took it upon herself and called the police and told them everything that Cameron had done. And on the 18th of November in 1984, Cameron Hooker was arrested. His own wife testified against him, and in return she got full immunity. And a few days later he was found guilty of rape, sodomy and kidnap. and he was sentenced to 104 years in jail. So since this all happened, Janice has changed her second name to her maiden name, and Colleen has tried her very best to live a normal as possible life after this happening. She attended college, she got a degree, she even started to help other women who had been abused. And since the kidnapping, Colleen herself has also changed her name. I believe they both live in California, but they have never spoken since the trial. They have not seen each other since the trial, and I don't blame Colleen for not wanting to see her. In regards to this, I totally think that Janice should have gone to jail as well. She knew what that poor girl was going through for 7 years, so she knew what that poor girl was going through for 7 years, so she really should have told somebody. Even if she didn't agree with what her husband was doing, she still should have reached out and just told somebody, because this girl went through 7 years of torture, rape and so much more. It's just horrible. But in a way, I'm glad it's a happy ending. She managed to escape, and she's managed to live her life to the best that she can since this incident. And that is all for today's case. That is the girl in the box. I really enjoyed doing a case what was solved, but solved where the person has survived, because like I said at the beginning of the video, researching it was closure and it felt really good. So I do plan on doing some more of these videos, but I also plan on doing some videos of missing people who are maybe currently missing at the moment. I know Eleanor Neale has been trying to include as many people in her stories that are currently missing, so I kind of want to do the same. And before you say I'm copying other people, I'm not. In true crime, you're not really copying, you're just giving the case as much awareness as you possibly can, and that's what I aim to do. So that is all for this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a big thumbs up, please subscribe, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye.